Hello,
Hi, Melanie. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
So I didn't finish the notes, but I will send them out tomorrow, Bob. So you won't be approving last Thursday's notes today.
Okay, excellent. And Allison and Dan. Hey, Dan, the following has nothing to do with Finance Committee.
Good.
I was going through some old stuff and I came across a box of books from
Excellent.
my like late teenage years.
Really?
Yeah, and one of them I thought you might be interested in. It's
And I
called
would, you have excellent choice in literature.
it's called The First and the Last by a guy named Adolf Gallant,
Ah,
who was uh, the head of the fighter arm of the Luftwaffe.
really?
Yeah. Now, the downside of this is this is a book from my late teenage years. It's an old paperback book, so it's kind
Wow.
of yellowed.
That's good
And
book stewardship.
uh, if you're interested, I'll save it for you and not.
Terrific. Please do.
Okay.
I have books to return to you and some that I think you'll be interested in.
Oh, awesome. I still have to get my way through the
That,
three series.
yeah, that trilogy seems like a big commitment. Just start on any page of any one of them and you'll be sucked in.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, what do we have? One, two, three, four, and Allison. Do you know if Peter's planning to attend?
I haven't spoken to Peter.
And I think it was Barbara said she could not attend.
Yeah, Barbara was the only definite no. Let's see, what do we have for head count here? We're at one, two, three, four. One, two. Yeah, we're four. What do we need for a quorum?
I believe we need five. Deborah Warren is here. She's
All right. Hello, Deborah. You'd make it. Or you just made the quorum. And we still have an empty seat, or do we have two empty seats?
we have one empty seat, and depending on how the town election goes, we will have two empty seats, I believe.
Because I think Dana is ready to begin his service. If in fact he's to be appointed by the being up to the existing moderator, and then Peter will, or whoever becomes the new moderator, will backfill Peter if he needs to be backfilled,
Right,
which would only occur if he's elected moderator.
right. Is there anyone else running?
I think other than write-ins, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we have a quorum. So we have a quorum. It is, oh wait, what time is it? 6:34. Meeting of the Finance Committee is in order. From the Finance Committee, Bob Vanderslice, Melanie Drayton, Dan McMacken, Tim Bell, Deborah Warren. It's much easier when everyone fits on one Zoom screen. And what we wanted to, and Peter Barba.
Here's Peter.
Sorry.
No, no worries.
I mean, I generally work till like 6:30 and,
And the little star is you?
that little star is yes. People always at work always ask me, what is that? I said, that's where I live. They're like, what? Really?
Yeah, like, wow, that's very cool.
It is. So, all right.
Yeah. I've been working with a company in Austin, Texas for a while now. And the conversation today turned to coyotes. They could not fathom how we could have a coyote problem. And they could not fathom why the coyotes could not be just dispatched by friendly neighbors. I mean, I'm serious. It was just completely, absolutely foreign to them. That, what do you mean? You can't just.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's Texas. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what we wanted to do tonight was work our way through the articles. before we start, I want to show you something. This
Oh,
that's not what you're seeing is actually not what I want to show you. Um, where is it? We're going to show you that. Boom. Okay. Now I have to drag it over there. This is
I know what that is. Isn't it Taormina, Sicily?
I looked it up. It's actually in Athens. It's the
Oh,
Really?
yeah, it is the
hmm.
well, it's the Odeon of Herodes Atticus, Acropolis of Athens.
Hmm.
So,
Oh.
whoops, and now I lost what I wanted to show you. Here it is. All right, throw that over there. So you should see a spreadsheet. Yes.
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 All right, I'm going to start with the less dramatic piece of this. So this is, Allison gave us the data for this. So what she did was she took all expenses across everything, right? So this is town, school, water and sewer, rubbish, everything is all together, and then grouped it into these big categories of over here on the right, salaries, operating expenses, capital debt, employee benefits, contractual expenses, which are things like the trash contract, the school contract with Swampscott, stuff like that, and the always popular other.
Mhm.
And she did it for 5 years. So this is how it trends over 5 years. And just that, I mean, if you just look at this, it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, so everything is slowly going up, and then obviously the gray, the debt service and capital, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense because we've had, you know, some, I mean, over the past couple of years, we had the huge expenses with the sewerage pipe on the Linway and now the sewage pumping station. So totally makes sense.
Yep.
It's a great graphic.
Yeah, but now wait, here's the one that's kind of scary and worrisome. Same same analysis, except now we're looking at the blue line is expenses. So it's the total from the one you just saw, except it's all of them together. The orange one is revenue,
Mhm.
and the dotted ones are the trends of each of those.
It would seem we're on the wrong side of close.
Yeah.
So that basically reflects debt that we're incurring.
Not necessarily. I mean, in the early years, there was a surplus that we put into the stabilization fund.
Yeah, and I should be really clear. What I backed out from revenue the proceeds from the Coast Guard housing because that's like a one-time windfall. So what we were trying to get at was operating expenses and operating revenue.
I mean, the other line that I'd like to see on there is just a consumer price index.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yep. I think the important thing too is, obviously we talked about the opening letter and talking about a potential override and stuff. You're going to have a lot of townspeople are going to say, we just sold off all that Coast Guard housing. We have plenty of money, blah, blah, blah. But they don't realize that that money can't be used for anything but capital expenses.
Right. Right. That's why we tried to do this was try to make this as graphic and as simple as we could. So. And I don't know, right now, my thought is we ought to include this or something very close to it in the book.
Yeah, I think that's excellent, Allison. I think that really nails it. It's more than a trend. It's factual, and it clearly sets the stage for the bad news of next year.
So I think if you don't have an inflation adjustment here, a reasonable person can say we are just letting our expenses rise too fast. But if you have an inflation adjustment, you will see that our expenses are approximately level and the revenues are dropping.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tim. I think we do need the CPI to head off at the pass. People who think it's some kind of expense, incremental expenses that are incremental when in fact they are not.
I mean, this graph makes it look like we're not doing a good job of keeping expenses down.
Well,
But unless you've been living under a rock, you pretty
Right.
much know ever since, COVID, inflation's been out of control. I mean,
Right. So we need to have that as part of the graph.
right. Yep. I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
we have not only inflation, but as you look at those expenses, a good deal of them are what a business would consider fixed costs. They're the contractual stuff
Yep.
that we have no ability to change. We can't buy fewer
We
paper
can
clips.
change that every 3 years.
No, the DARPA stuff doesn't show on here, right? Because it was sort of a one-time. I mean, it wouldn't show under revenue, right?
Good question. Allison was here.
Yeah, she's still here.
Yep,
Huh?
I'm here. Sorry, I missed the question though.
I just wondered if this reflected the DARPA bump that we got.
Oh, the ARPA monies?
Yeah.
No, it does not. Nope, because that was in a separate fund. So these revenues and expenditures are just general fund and the enterprises.
Okay.
Okay. But then it's also excluding what we bought with the ARPA funds, what we paid for with them as well. Question mark.
Correct. So that would be why in 21 and 22 expenditures are a little bit lower because some of those expenditures were covered by ARPA funds on that separate fund. So that's kind of skewing this data too.
And again, this is a preview of a year out town meeting. It's just to kind of give a warning order to the town and get them thinking about it. So hopefully there won't be a lot of discussion of this and the moderator can rein it in because there's not going to be a motion. There's not going to be a motion on this that people can talk to. This is just a preview of coming attractions. So hopefully there won't be a lot of sharpshooting of this.
Yeah, I think this is if we do it, it's in the letter. It's in our letter.
I believe we should do it. I think we absolutely should do it, or next year will be a total misery for us.
Yeah, I think you have the letter, and then I don't know. We generally reference. I mean, we could reference it right after the letter. Have a page or two right after the letter, or we can reference to the back of the book, and this, like any other reference material.
Right. Well, we can figure out the mechanics of it when we get there. I wanted to just pop this up for everybody so you could stew on it. Tim, I kind of like the idea of having the CPI on the chart. I don't know how to do it though.
So
I bet Allison does.
Allison does. I can do it. The way I would do it is use 2022 numbers. So 23, 24, 25, 26 will be de-inflated. And then it makes it because comparing two rising lines is much more difficult than comparing one line that is supposed to be
Oh,
flat.
I see. You want to inflation adjust the numbers. I know how
Yeah.
to do. I mean, that,
Oh, I thought you wanted a third line.
I thought you
No,
wanted a third line. Yeah.
no, just
I,
visually, it's much more difficult to compare different slopes than something versus flat.
But why wouldn't 3 lines be clearer? Visually, graphically.
Yeah, I think the third line lets them compare our results to the economy at large.
Right.
the thing I'm hung up on is it's like two completely different scales. In one, you're talking about percentages.
No,
And-
no, you're not talking. If you send, if you
Oh.
send me that spreadsheet, the one that you have, the way that you've done it, I will, for our next meeting, give you an alternative visual or two.
Okay. I'll throw it in the Dropbox. But another way to do it would be to just like for whatever, use $16 million as your base and then have a line that shows how $16 million inflates. And then it kind of assumes the same scale as this. That would work. If anybody understood how I was talking.
Actually, it might even be better to start at 17, just halfway, but close to halfway between your revenues and expenses.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Well, the other thought you could, as Tim said, you could have a third line or a line that's adjusted, but you could also have the line that's adjusted and the CPI. I mean, 4 lines is confusing, but
Right,
I don't
I
know.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
rather than micromanage it here, let
Yeah,
me take
yeah.
a stab and present at our next meeting.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
we,
agree.
we just need to capture the rate of inflation against our accelerated increases in expenses and being able to compare the two.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. And I don't know, the more I think about it, I'm not liking the idea of inflation adjusting it because
Neither am I.
we're not paying in inflation adjusted dollars. We're paying in real dollars.
Yeah, I agree, Bob. I don't think
We're
we
actually
should
not paying in
adjust
real
this.
dollars. We're paying in nominal dollars.
Could somebody send me the Dropbox? I
Specifically
seem
not
to have
paying
lost
in
it.
real dollars.
Allison sent an email earlier today that has the link to the
Oh, great,
Dropbox
thank you.
in it. Okay. All right. Anyway, so enough of that.
Yes.
And Allison, has Tony seen this?
No, he has not. Nope. I can certainly share it with him. But yeah, I have shared, trend data with him earlier in this budget season, so this is not going to be surprising to him. But yeah, I'll share it with him.
I would not expect him to be at all surprised by this. All right, so let's see me put this back kind of the way it was. That's fine. Then this is what we're really here for tonight. I've got to drag this guy over here. Okay, so list of articles. And this, Allison, this is pulled from the one that was in the Dropbox saved by you like a couple hours ago or maybe yesterday.
Yeah, so that's the most recent version. Some of the articles still aren't really written, but there's a placeholder for them. So yeah, this is the most recent. That was the most recent that I put in there.
Okay. And what I was intending to do is whoever's going to write it, we'll record it here. When we vote on it and either recommend it or not recommend it, we will record it there. When the draft is written, we can record it there. When we approve the language, we record it there. So we just have this checklist. And I will throw this in the Dropbox too. So let's go from the top. I don't think we can do number one because we don't know exactly what they are.
When do they come in?
So right now, I don't know of any transfers. This is also an article that it's something that we can handle outside of town meeting at year end. You know how we have that joint meeting between you
right.
and the Board of Selectmen. So there might not necessarily be anything for this, for town meeting, because at this point, I don't have anything.
So can't do it, might not be there at all. Snow and ice.
Snow and ice there will be, but I don't have a final number yet. But we definitely had a deficit in snow and ice that we will look to transfer other available funds to.
New Year's bills.
I don't have any right now, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Okay, awesome. Salary and classification plan.
Yeah, so this is one, I drafted, I updated the classification plan for review by Tony. He had some adjustments to make. So I'm hoping that, he'll be able to do that over the next week and then we can present that to you.
Okay, so there will be changes to the salary and classification plan itself.
Yeah, there always is, because what's included in there, are the new salary scales for the collective bargaining agreements. So those are already known and I've updated the classification plan for that. And then the rest is salary ranges for the positions. I've adjusted some of those because in the omnibus, those who are not on a contract, we've increased by 2.5%. Some, like the town clerk was a little bit higher. So those will all be captured in there.
So this one's premature as well then.
Yes.
Yeah. We probably can do this one. This is selectmen are they still at $1 a piece?
Yes. It's the selectman at $1, it's the constable at $50, and then it does include the town clerk salary.
Does the moderator get anything?
Yes, a big thank you.
Gratitude of entire town.
Just checking.
Yeah,
Checking.
Yeah, you earn the same amount as the finance committee.
Yes.
I don't know why you're jumping ship.
Yeah.
Bob, if you want, I can take this one since I was the liaison for the town clerk this year.
Are we prepared to vote on this one?
Well, it hasn't changed, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Has it changed, Allison?
I'm not sure what you mean by change. So it is the town, and right now it's the town administrator's recommendation for the town clerk salary. The town clerk did come before you with, a request to adjust that. I don't know how the finance committee is ruling on that.
We kind of trended in the direction of Tony's recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she did get a higher increase than I think most others, correct?
Right, she did.
Yeah.
Yep, she and the treasurer got a 3% increase, while all other non-contract employees got 2.5%.
So one, I thought I heard Melanie volunteering to be the responsible party for that one. And two, aren't we supposed to be able to see what we're voting on?
Yeah, so this actually is part of the salary and classification plan. It falls on the last page of that. So again, when I have that ready, the actual figures will be on there.
I'm kind of reluctant to vote on anything that isn't ready.
Okay, all right, so then we'll skip this one, but this is a copy of the warrant right now, so we can look at this if you
That's
want.
better. Yep,
And maybe we should just work from this
I think we should.
rather, and then I'll go back and update the spreadsheet as we need to. All right, so we're gonna hold on that one, on Article 5. Article 6. This is the to rescind a prior article to release the funds.
Yeah, so if you remember, at the last town meeting, we approved, this was for the water meter project, and we dedicated $200,000 of free cash and $170,000 of retained earnings to support that project. Tony has since decided that the project is going to go through the MWRA zero interest loan program. I think he spoke about this at a prior meeting. So this article is to rescind last year's vote, and now it makes those funds available for other purposes this year.
Um,
And I'm happy to take that one on if nobody else wants it.
Bob, before you switch, Allison said 4 and 5 are sort of together, so you can put my name for 4.
okay. Yay, thank you. I have historically done Article 4. So this will be the first in many years when I've not done it. So thank you. Okay. So where you said it's 370 and 170?
No, the total is 370, but it was $200,000 of free cash and 170 of water sewer retained earnings.
That's on the rescind article, Allison.
Yes,
So, I mean, effectively what we're doing is we're taking money that's previously appropriated, reappropriating it into something else and incurring debt in lieu of that.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, but it's at a zero interest. Yep. And so what we've done is we've utilized, once this passes, this rescission, we've utilized the funds in further articles down the way.
Right. In the
So
rest of the budget, yeah.
if this does not pass,
Then
then
we're screwed.
yeah, we're gonna have to make some floor amendments to the budget.
This is one of the ways that we're dealing with expenses rising faster than revenues.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically converting, previously approved expenses into debt. That's
Yep.
that's what's going on there.
Yep.
To deal with that gap that we see on the trend lines.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't be afraid to say that.
I think we better, because somebody will figure it out and make us look like knuckleheads if we don't admit it.
Well,
Yep.
zero interest is nice.
Yeah, yes, that's true. Are we prepared to vote on this?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we can vote on this.
We've talked about it multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I move that we vote to recommend this article.
I'll second that.
Who's taking notes, by the way?
That's one knocked off.
Who's,
All right,
by the way,
Deborah.
What?
So
Bob, who's taking notes?
I am right for the time. I am. You moved it, and who seconded it? Dan, right?
Dan.
Okay. Then all in favor, roll call vote. Dan,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Tim, Melanie,
Hi.
Peter.
Aye.
I vote aye, unanimous vote in favor. So this passes. Okay. I'll go back and update the spreadsheet later. 7 is the omnibus. We can't deal with that yet. 8. This is like one of those every year articles.
What's that, water sewer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of boilerplate.
Well, so this is the water and sewer enterprise budget. So you've seen it,
Oh.
you know, you've seen that whole omnibus spreadsheet, that's at the bottom of it. I usually I can write out like what it's salary, the motion reads like salaries, expenses, capital outlay. If you want me to write that out for you before voting on this, I'm happy to do that. And you can vote on it next week.
We probably should, just so that we're clear on exactly what it is. So yeah, so this is the warrant. The motion that will be read is slightly different, and it doesn't contain the line items. That makes sense to everyone?
Did you say the motion doesn't contain the line items?
No, it does.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
The motion that's read on town hall floor does contain the line items. Which is why I'm a little reluctant to ask folks to vote on it unless you want to.
No.
All right, Article 9, water and sewer paving. Again, this is a
Boilerplate that we
Yep.
typically just move money from one account to another.
So
Yep.
this 50,000 will be funded with water and sewer retained earnings.
Okay. Right.
I think we can vote that.
I'll make a motion to approve this one.
Second.
all right. Hang on, I gotta write all this down. Peter moved it, and Deborah seconded. All in favor, Dan,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so unanimous vote in favor. Okay,
So for rubbish, we don't have a dollar amount.
So we
Yeah.
do, it's on one of the spreadsheets that I provided, that I sent today and is in the Dropbox. So it's part of that big budget summary spreadsheet. I don't know if,
Oh,
Bob, if you want to bring that up.
well, I can. And if, I guess if we have that, we could go back and do 8 as well.
Any
Yeah,
idea
so
what
it's-
page it's on?
So it's in Excel. It's on that tab 3B, the FY26 budget worksheet.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And water, sewer, and trash are, so general fund is first, and then it goes water, sewer, and then trash.
It's the easy way to do this.
Oh, you're gonna put it up for us?
Yeah, I guess I gotta get it first,
Oh, thank you.
which is
Nope, water sewer enterprise funds.
easier said than done. So this is gonna be in that email account. Oops, that's not the right email account. Box.
You want me to share it?
If I don't find it in a second here. It'll be easier if we don't have to jump between people sharing screens. That's all. Okay, what do we got? This is Allison's, and it's which tab? I'm
Tab 3B.
maybe
Hmm.
I'm
And
assuming.
then the trash budget starts at row 817.
817. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, there's a, there's a lot.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
So the rubbish enterprise,
And
Are
so
we
what
go-
you're voting on is the figures in column I, that's the town
Si-
administrator's budget and what the Board of Selectmen have voted too.
so 67,885.
Yep, yes, that, and then the operating expenses of, what is it, 586 or 556,494. And then if you, actually, no, never mind, the compost is a separate article. So it's just those two.
So the rubbish,
654,379.
right.
Yeah, and all of that is supported through,
The enterprise fund.
correct,
So
through your charge.
when it gets put on in the warrant, do you have the total amount?
I do. So same thing, the motion will say, it'll have the salary at that amount, it has the operating expenses at that amount, and it says something to the effect that this amount is to be raised through, trash receipts.
Oh, so the total is the 654, 379.
379.
Okay, yep,
Mhm.
okay.
And Alice, you say that the warrant article, or sorry, the motion on the floor will be the 67,885, 586,494 for a total of 654,379.
Correct, yes.
I move we vote to recommend this.
I'll second that.
Okay. That was Tim and Peter, right?
Yep.
All in favor, where is everybody gone here? Deborah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and did I miss anyone but me? I vote aye, so it's a unanimous vote in favor. And then we should be able to go.
So water and sewer is a little bit different. I would like to show you the language of the motion next week because it does have, it's not just salary and operating expenses. It also has a line for those indirect costs as well as the debt shift.
Okay.
I don't have the language in front of me right now. I can't access my
Yeah.
file on my computer. So,
That's fine.
okay. Not as straightforward as the trash.
Right.
Okay. Then
So the
go ahead.
all
Go
right,
ahead,
no,
Peter.
go ahead. No, I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead.
I was jumping ahead too. So the compost area that she alluded to a second ago is this Article 11.
Right. And we know the number there, so we can approve this.
We could.
I make a motion that we approve Article 11, the verbiage for Article 11.
Sorry, I second.
That was Melanie.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Melanie, you've gone to the head of the class here. So Melanie first.
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and Tim.
Aye.
And I vote aye, so another unanimous vote in favor. Excellent. Okay. Article 12.
So this is just really, this is a housekeeping item. It's there every year. By law, we have to reauthorize these revolving funds. So again, the town doesn't spend anything out of these funds unless there's revenue in there. So it's
Mhm.
it's more of a housekeeping item.
Weren't we supposed to get rid of these?
So the revolving funds haven't. The one that we were able to get rid of was that opioid settlement one, and they used to have us vote that separately every year, and they changed that. And then
Okay.
there was that transportation network fund where
Right.
we would get that per ride, from the Uber drivers that come into town. We get a certain dollar amount per ride per year. We don't have to vote on that anymore, but we do have to vote on Article 12 and 13 for the revolving funds.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve 13. I'm sorry, do we have to do 12 first, right? Recreation?
Yep.
I'll
Well, we
make a,
don't have to. We can do them out of order. We could
yeah.
throw caution to the wind and
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the verbiage in Article 12, recreation revolving.
Second,
right. All in favor. Uh-oh, Melanie has moved again. So Dan,
Aye.
Deborah,
aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Tim. Oh,
Aye.
no, the head of the class again. Bob votes aye, unanimous vote in favor.
And as a
Article
reminder, we're voting to recommend the articles, correct?
correct.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I said the verbiage, but I should,
Yeah. You would think a future moderator would know better.
Yeah.
He's
I haven't won yet.
He's checked out a few comments.
I say, yeah.
It's only a few weeks, a week or two away, right? 3 weeks,
Yeah,
a month.
actually a month. Yeah, close to a month. Yeah, because it's the 26th. So
Okay.
Okay, 13, why are
Sorry, so I don't have this
13?
one prepared. This is to vote on spending limits for certain revolving funds. So this is like the Council on Aging revolving fund is a part of this.
and this one has that chart that has like 20,000 for this one, 10,000
Correct.
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so by law, we have to vote on the spending limits for each of those. And I don't have it prepared today for you.
Why do we not have to vote?
Because we got to know what the limits are.
No, I understand that.
Oh, but we're recommending the article.
But no, like in 12, we're voting to continue the revolving account or the revolving fund, but we don't have to do that for these other revolving funds?
So this
No,
is
no.
the silliness of municipal finance law. Article 12 is just for recreation revolving. It's a separate law. And then Article 13 is for all other revolving funds. It's a separate Mass General law. So I don't know why they're different. To me, it's silly that you have to vote on a spending limit for the revolving funds. You can't spend if you don't have the money anyway. So
Right.
these are, again, antiquated Mass General laws.
Yeah, I remember the chart though. So this is the recreation revolving is we're voting on or we're recommending to keep that revolving account.
Correct.
And then Article 13, we're recommending, well, if we vote yes, we would be recommending to set the limits of, 20,000 for Council on Aging, 10,000 for recreation. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but there is a chart that goes with it.
Right. Yep. And
So
I can have that ready for next week too. The limits haven't changed and I don't see a need to change for them to change. But I just don't have the document for you.
yeah, I was looking for my last year's warrant article book. I just but it's just as easy having the chart there.
Okay, but we can't, it sounds like we don't want to do it until we have the chart, so.
Yep.
Okay, 14, OPEB. Can't we rename that to something else?
So is the 25,000 the right?
Yeah, and that's going to be funded with free cash. So as you remember, this does appear, you'll see it in the budget spreadsheet, but it's voted on as in a separate article. And then this used to be followed by the stabilization transfer. However, we're not transferring anything into stabilization this year. So we just have this OPEB article.
Right, and 25,000 is just, it's like a nod in the right
Yeah.
direction.
I mean, currently that OPEB trust has just over $150,000 in it, so it's slowly, chipping away or adding to that.
Dollar liability.
Mhm.
Do we know the unfunded liability?
Yes.
So the question to the group is, do we want to publish that? Because that's a scary number.
What is that unfunded liability?
It's over $3 million.
Youch.
Mhm.
Now that's
It
if
was in the twos last year.
everybody in town retired on the same day,
Correct.
essentially.
Yeah. So we have by law, we have to have an actuarial analysis done every year. So that number does change on an annual basis, and it is incorporated into our annual financial report by our auditors. It's now included under our the liability account.
What have we done in the past in terms of having that number specified in an article?
We've always had we've always had the amount that we're appropriating. I wouldn't have the unfunded liability in the article. That's not,
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's necessary.
No,
But if
it's
you
not yet.
wanted to include that, in part of your statement, you could do that. And I can share our most current actuarial analysis with all of you.
What,
Last
and where
year
are
we did not include the unfunded liability in our
No.
recommendation last year.
we didn't.
I think
Um,
you know it in case it's asked on the meeting floor.
Good idea.
Yeah. The other thing is, what is the recommended amount that we should have in that fund? You said we have 125 or 150,000.
So
What
right
should-
now, there's no real recommendation, because there's no state law, that says we have to fund this like at our pension liability. There's a state law that, we have to fully fund our pension liability by 2037, I believe. So for OPEB, there's no state law saying we have to have it fully funded by a certain amount. So, credit rating agencies look at this as long as you're dedicating some type of funding to it every year. That's a good thing, but there's no recommendation.
Okay.
And given
I'll
that
make a,
this is- I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, given that this is specifically not pension liability, this is all medical retirement liability?
Correct. Yes, this is all health insurance liability.
I make a motion, we approve, we recommend this article.
There a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Tim,
I
Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie.
Aye.
I feel like I missed somebody other than me. I guess not. I vote aye, so unanimous vote in favor. That's number 14. 15. This is an annual article as well.
Mm-hmm. And
Oops, I'm
This-
sorry for the boxes popping up at random there.
we're recommending to borrow this amount this year. In past years, I think we've funded with free cash, but we simply don't have enough this year to do that.
Well, if we don't, we don't.
Hmm. And we have a lot of paving to do this year, right? Because we have, or is this?
So
Yeah.
this isn't the only source of funding for paving. We will get chapter 90 money.
91, yeah.
We do have some unspent, funds for this year. Tony would be able to talk more about the specific plan, Tony and Zach. I don't know what that is, but this isn't the only source of funding.
Right, so we have the chapter 90 funding. We get some money out of water and sewer, correct?
Yep, so
For-
you just approved that you just approved that $50,000 article for water sewer paving.
For water sewer paving.
Mhm.
Is there any other?
Chapter 90.
No, besides chapter 90, is there any other paving? Just water sewer, this article, and okay.
And it looks like last year we borrowed 100 and 100 came from free cash.
Right. Yeah, so it's been a different approach every year for this. I think those years that we had, higher free cash, we put it towards paving, but last year we split it. For FY26, we're recommending borrowing that amount.
Seems like to me, if you're gonna shortchange paving the streets, you've got bigger problems.
So you're thinking 200 grand is too little? Is what you're
Well,
saying?
No,
No,
I think we need to keep going on the paving program in a consistent
Oh.
fashion. I am a little worried about that we're borrowing the entire 200 because that just starts to add up over time. We had 100 last year, we have 200 this year. But no.
And Allison, the term on those borrowings?
So how we usually borrow for these, we issue 1-year bans.
Those are renewed, correct?
Yeah, so I might not even issue this $200,000 if this gets passed. I might not even issue it with this July ban. But this article authorizes us to. I have to see what the balance, we still have unspent funding from that 100,000 that was approved last year that we borrowed. So I meet with Tony and Zach right before July. And I see kind of what their cash flow needs are, but we might not even need to issue bans for this right away.
If we still have some left from last year, why do we need an authorization for 200 then?
Because we might need to borrow a portion of it. But I think, again, I wish Tony was on this meeting. He can talk more specifically to this because I don't know the paving plans, but he's the one that recommended this amount. And I know we'll at least have to borrow a portion of it for FY26. Again, it's an authorization to borrow up to that amount.
yeah, we're not going to take it all if we don't need to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was my understanding that the plan is 200,000 a year, I think, kind of perpetually. And the only question is how we're going to fund it. And if we don't have available funds or free cash, then we're stuck with borrowing.
Right. I
Right.
think you're right there.
Yeah, and it's 300,000 a year, at least according to last year's book.
Yeah, so we do for chapter 90, we get just over 100,000.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully, I do think the governor, the current governor has expanded the program a little bit. Hope maybe that allocation might go up in the future. So at this point, though, we don't know what our allocation for FY26 will be.
So the idea is it's a $300,000 budget or expense, of which 100 or so comes from chapter 90 and the remainder comes from the town, whether it be from borrowing or free cash. We don't have free cash this year, so we're borrowing.
Correct.
Should we let this one sit and wait for Tony? Or do you want to, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend.
I'll second.
So Peter moves, Tim seconds, all in favor. Peter,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I vote aye, unanimous vote in favor. Article 16. It'll stop moving in a second. There we go.
So this is, if you remember that previous article about rescinding last year's town meeting article, now this is where those funds are appearing. We're utilizing those retained earnings from water and sewer towards a new water sewer DPW vehicle.
All right.
So if that former article, what was it, Article 6, I think? If that doesn't pass, I'm not sure what we are going to do about this article.
Yeah. It's probably a good idea to make sure we do know and kind of have the plan in play, or at least know what the plan is, should it go
To
sideways.
be honest, I don't think there's no available funding, so
Well,
this
would we not be
would
able
have
to
to come off
borrow?
the table.
Allison,
sorry?
would we not, if the other one didn't pass, would we not be able to borrow for this?
We could borrow, so those would be the options. It would either be to borrow this amount, or it would have to come off the table and not be funded in FY 26 and wait a year.
So, question. If the other one doesn't pass, is there I'm gonna have to learn this, is there an ability to make I guess an addendum on the floor, I guess it would be a friendly motion, right?
Mhm.
To change this from available funds to borrowing.
But
I
that's
think,
what we
does
do
it have it? I think it's already, it says borrowing in it already, so it's kind of covered. See how it says transfer from available funds or raised by borrowing?
Oh, yeah, okay. So
Mhm.
so this article would stay.
Yeah, so the only thing that would change would be the motion. So you know how we draft the motions ahead of
Yeah.
time?
Yep.
So the motion would have to change.
So does it make sense to have a second motion?
Yep.
Like just put
Yeah,
it right
I'll have it
underneath it and,
available.
yeah,
Yep, because we
okay.
know, well, I'll have us all set up for this. Just because if that article doesn't pass, then this does have to be changed.
Yeah, okay.
I don't see the
Have
word,
it-
sorry, I don't see the word transfer in there.
Under Article 16, it says the town will vote to raise and
Oh, I'm looking at
appropriate.
17, sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
17 is a pure borrowing at 0% article.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Do we want to take any action on 16? Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we vote to approve.
I second.
I should say recommend. Sorry.
Melanie seconds. So Melanie? You vote aye, I think.
Oh, aye, yes.
There I am, putting words in your mouth. You vote aye. Peter,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Tim. Tim
Aye.
and Dan.
Aye.
Okay, I vote aye, it passes. Tim, do you want to do this one as well, since it goes hand in hand with the one that you volunteered
That's
for?
fine. Yep, that's fine.
Okay. 17. Oh, this is the MWRA borrowing. This is, I forget if it's zero or low interest, but
It's zero interest, and this is just to authorize the borrowing. We usually have this article every year. We haven't even borrowed on last year's authorization, but it's good to have this, in case a big project comes up. But we generally have this article at 500,000 each year.
but last year's hasn't gone away, right?
Nope. So that authorization still stands. This is a separate authorization.
And this adds to it.
Correct.
Is only last year the amount that hasn't been drawn?
No,
Or-
there's a portion, there's a little bit more, I think there's a portion of the year before that hasn't been borrowed yet, so so it'd be 500,000 from last year. I think it's about 200,000 from the prior year. So that would bring us up to just over $1 million, but some of those funds will be obligated as for that water meter project.
So this is also going to be funding for the water meter project, the Article 17.
Yes, it depends on how much the project ends up costing.
Okay.
So yes, this could be part of it.
Okay. So the water meters are the pertinent structures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tony has had conversations with the MWRA, which is how we found out that the water meter project is eligible for funding through this loan program. So this is just the standard language of the article for the borrowing.
Have we asked bond council whether the water meters would qualify with this language? I understand MWRA is fine with it, but does this specific language cover it?
I have not asked them. I can ask.
So bond council is normally when you go out to the public for funding. This, we're not going to the public, we're going to the MWRA.
MWRA, yeah. So
Yeah.
the MWRA has said it's okay.
Okay, good point, Tim. Okay. And how much, tell again, are the water meters are how much?
So I'm not sure how much the whole project costs, actually.
Will we know that by town meeting?
Tony likely does know that, yes. So
Or
he can
if
speak
you
more
go
to that.
back up to Article 6, that would be the approximate amount.
So that was for 270,000. I do think it's higher than that. Because when we had put forward that funding last year, that was just to start the project. And we knew it wasn't going to cover every single water meter. So they were going to do a phased in approach. So I know Tony and Zach have had meetings on it. So he has better numbers.
But clearly less than the 1.2 million that we'll have available at that point.
Yes, I believe so.
Should we skip by this one?
No, I'm happy to move that we recommend it.
I'll second.
So that's Tim's motion, Peter's second, all in favor. Let's see, what order will we have now? Peter,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and Bob votes aye, unanimous vote in favor. Okay, 18 is chapter 90.
Yeah, again, this is it's kind of a silly article. It just allows the town to spend the money that we received through chapter 90.
Yeah. And it's one of those you gotta have.
I vote to
Correct.
recommend.
Yes, I second.
Okay, so that's Peter's motion. Gosh, Deborah's second. Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so unanimous vote in favor. Article 19. Oh, this is where we're changing the title of the selectmen, the Board of Selectmen, to the Select Board.
That's all this does? Yes, it does. That's all it does, right?
That's all it does, yes.
But it's in the charter.
Yes, I believe it's in the charter, and that's why it has to be
Voted on.
voted on.
And
I don't
Peter,
see any
is that a
problem.
majority vote or does it need more?
Excuse me?
Is that going to be a majority vote or do we need more to amend the charter?
I believe a charter amendment might be 2/3, but I'm not sure. I haven't learned that yet. I haven't read that far into the book.
Well, also when we prepare the motions,
Right.
legal will tell us what the vote has to be too. So you'll know during our test
Right.
run.
Right.
Okay, and another question, which we argue about every year, for ones like this that are not financial in nature, do we even publish a recommendation, or do we just say no recommendation because it's not a financial article?
I think we can make recommendations for non-financial articles. I think
Yes, no, there's no question that we can make the recommendation. There have been a couple occasions where we've chosen not to. And I personally, I think we are the advisory and finance committee meeting, and we are committee, and we should.
We should what?
Oh, we
Recommendation.
we should make a recommendation or not.
I vote that I make a motion that we recommend.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Melanie.
Mhm.
Melanie is the second. So Melanie, aye or nay?
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Bob, aye. Unanimous vote in favor. Okay. We said this was going to be an hour meeting. We're at an hour. But there aren't that many more, so maybe we just push on, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I mean,
make progress.
it's not listed as an hour long, correct?
No.
There's a discussion, but
Yeah.
if we don't do it now, we'll have to do it later.
Right. I'd rather push on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Article 20 is listed as placeholder,
So we can't vote on that.
so we can't vote on that.
Yeah, I
So
think
easy.
Tony is having legal draft the language for this. It's for the additional sales of the Coast Guard housing lot.
Yeah.
So we did not receive any bids on some of the lots, so therefore we have to have another round.
Well, it's the way that the original article that the town meeting voted on in 2021 basically said that the houses had to be offered in two essentially lots or two phases. Thank you. Yeah, in two separate phases. And one, we have a tenant that we're in the legal process of evicting, and that's going to take time and bring us past he's currently in the second phase. So we're, and there were, according to his report last week, there were 3 lots that were still still pending. I believe I saw something where lot 4 just went. So there's probably 2 lots left plus the one with the house still on it. So there needs to be at least one more round. And he didn't want to put an end date or a number of rounds because you know, we don't know how long the eviction process will take.
Yeah.
We don't know, you know, so that's the verbiage that they're working on. I suspect they're going to come back and basically say that, you know, that we sell these lots as quickly as people buy them, essentially, and that we don't need to do it in phases. We just put them up for sale, and when we get a viable bid or whatever, we move on it.
Yeah, okay. All right, but we don't have the real language yet.
Yep.
We can't do anything about it. So we move on to Article 21. It's an interesting title, but this is
Where'd we get that figure?
It's to get the $3 million grant, right?
to
Right.
get the $3 million
So this is
grant.
the town's match for the Short Beach Dune project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this project isn't going to move forward unless we vote this.
Correct.
I make a motion that we recommend.
Before we vote on it, is there any chance we could ask the selectmen to change the name of the article to the Short Beach reclamation article?
So Tony drafted this and we had some back and forth with bond counsel. It's because I don't think it was last year. I think it was the town meeting before that we authorized the same borrowing. And so we're also using the amount, that's why this is $805,000. Our actual match is just over $1 million, and that was borrowed, that was authorized 2 years ago. So he used the same exact language from that.
Yeah, because if you don't have the same language, then we wouldn't be able to use the fund. We wouldn't be able to commingle these funds. We need to, it needs to be the same, quote, the same project or the same need for the spend, if that's.
That you can't acknowledge that the political climate has changed.
What's that?
I say it's sad you can't acknowledge that the political climate has changed for this political climate change preparedness article.
Oh, yeah.
It is that true of the motion, or sorry, the article itself and the accompanying motion? And you can make the title whatever you want, or does it literally extend to the title of it as well?
That I'm not sure, but I do know he copied the same exact language for consistency purposes. I don't know if it prohibits you from commingling them or not. And bond counsel is aware of, you know, they know the previous article. They didn't state that it had to have the same exact title. I can bring it up to Tony that, you know, the committee has a concern.
And practically speaking, it's probably not worth trying to
Yeah.
have act about bond counsel for it.
I move we approve.
I already moved. There's a
Peter-
motion already
yeah,
on the
Peter,
floor.
Oh, okay.
We're looking for a second
I'm
now.
gonna second.
All right. All in favor, Dan,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Tim,
I
Melanie,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so unanimous vote in favor. It's 21. 22 is community preservation. We don't have the details yet.
Well, do we need more detail? I mean, it's percentage.
Well, she presented the articles to you at Monday's meeting, but they were
Mhm.
still kind of in draft form. I don't know. I know that they're meeting on Monday night, and I had a few questions for her on a couple of them too. So that's why they haven't been added to the warrant or voted on by the Board of Selectmen yet. But it would be, you know, similar to what you saw on Monday night.
Well, I've volunteered to be responsible for that. First of all, I'm the liaison, and secondly, Lynn does all the legwork, so it's not very hard work.
Yeah, I'm on an email string that,
Oh, well, maybe you should be the guy.
no, I'm not, well, I'm on an email string, but I'm not closely, I'm following it. So, but the gist of it is they were still wordsmithing
Right.
all of the sub articles beneath this.
So, but we got to vote for sub articles anyways.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is,
yeah. So I think we have to table this
I
one
guess,
until
right.
we get the
Until
final
we-
language of all those sub articles.
Okay, ADUs.
ADUs.
Mm.
Yeah,
Number
I'm reserving enthusiasm for this as it's written.
What do
My
you mean you're
concern
reserving
is,
enthusiasm? I don't understand.
I like that expression, Dan. I like it a lot.
thank you, Deb. Uh, the the ADUs are subject to the same building and code standards that regular dwellings have in the town. I think that we should adopt the most stringent in the state, and then the regular ordinary dwellings code and building standards will apply to the ADUs. And my primary reason for this is my neighbor's building out an addition on his house, and he's doing it on sonotubes. Now, if you can put dwellings on sonotubes, just concrete piers, it really makes it a lot cheaper than if they have real full depth frost line foundations. Now, that's something that we could do to basically reduce the attractiveness of building a small building in everyone's backyard. So I think that that needs to be done. I mean, we need to have full foundations, and we need to basically go
but
to
you
the most
can't,
stringent codes in the
So-
Commonwealth.
If
You
I
can't-
can clarify, I've been going to the planning board on this. So first of all, the ADU law is currently in effect. Currently, anybody can get approval for an ADU as it stands today.
And that's a state law.
That's a state law. Each town or municipality can have an ADU regulation. But the regulation is very specific that it cannot have any greater restriction on the ADU than it has on a primary dwelling.
Right.
There are a couple of small things that it can have as a restriction, one of which is you can require that all services, that is water, sewer, and electric, have to go through the main dwelling to get to the ADU, and that is part of the proposed bylaw. There were a couple of other little changes that they just had their hearing this week, their public hearing this week, and nobody complained too much about it. But to address Dan's concern, we have to just go to the planning board or somebody has to go to the planning board and say, hey, I want to propose a change to the overall bylaw for all buildings.
Yes,
And
exactly.
start that process. But
you can't do it now.
saying no to this does not help that attempt at all.
Correct. And you can't, to Tim's point, you would have to make, as you said, your neighbor's putting an addition on sonotubes. You can put a house on sonotubes if you
Yes.
want.
Exactly.
And so you cannot make your ADU rules any more stringent than
Primary dwellings.
than primary dwelling, because I what do you call it? I was also I wasn't the liaison, but I watched a bunch of their meetings. I think the problem that you're going to have, Dan, with like this proposal is, what do you do in a flood zone where your house has to be, off of the ground by 5 feet? You would be, I mean, it's great that you're suggesting regular foundations. They'd actually have to be breakaway foundations or pass-through foundations, like, you know, there are already a lot
Yeah.
of those in town.
Sure.
However, you would, I mean, we would, that would, in order to change a zoning bylaw, he sat on the zoning board for a number of years. You literally have to have you have to make the recommendation to the planning board. The planning board has to review it. The selectmen have to review it. Once it's been reviewed, there needs to be a public hearing. And then once a public hearing happens, then it can go into the town warrant, and it has to pass by a two-thirds majority. So what you're suggesting on this particular article couldn't happen unless you didn't put this in, unless we basically did not recommend this article. And if you do that, the things that they have put into place to help protect the town of Nahant would not be put in until another meeting. So
What protections are there? I guess that's a question for Peter and Tim. What protections there? I mean, typically, if you're building an ADU, you wouldn't run new services from the street anyway. You'd run it from the primary residence.
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
People, I mean, building costs are building costs. You're going to do whatever works that's least costly.
Right. And having the utilities run depending on where you put your ADU, your telephone pole or your power pole could be closer to the ADU. So I mean, I don't think that makes or breaks anything.
No,
there was some other stuff. Trying to think, Tim, you were the liaison. You were there more frequently than I was.
There was one other thing that I can't remember, but it was extremely minimal. There's very little
you can do. Yeah, but wasn't it only one ADU?
We are limiting to there's an ADU and a PADU. A PADU is a protected alternative dwelling unit, which is what is specifically allowed by the new state law.
Right.
And we have said that you're limited to one protected ADU on the property.
Right. So that's a good thing, because if somebody if somebody could build a small, 900 square foot is what the number I vaguely remember as the maximum, but somebody could build a 900 square foot unit on their property and then put an apartment in their basement, call them both ADUs. But this article, what they're proposing, actually limits that, so that can't happen. You may get a secondary with a special permit, but I'm not sure if that actually went through or not.
Wait a minute, are you saying that what is the deal with having two separate 900 square feet ADUs on one property?
I believe it's not allowed. It's not allowed, correct? You need a special permit or a variance for that?
With a variance.
We're going to get a variance for that. That's not a variance item.
Or you need a special permit then. But did that stay in, or did they ban them altogether?
What's that?
There was, and I wish Tony was here, but I thought there was verbiage in one of the proposals that basically said you could have a second ADU, but you had to get a special permit.
No.
And then there was another one that banned them altogether. You can only have one ADU on a property, and that was allowable.
I believe the bylaw limits to one protected ADU.
Okay.
And if you already have an in-law apartment built onto your building, then I do not believe you would be allowed to build another protected ADU.
Oh.
Right. So
it's only one ADU of any stripe.
Right.
It is to be protected by state law.
Right.
Tim, can you clarify what the P protected ADU and ADU? What's the difference?
So a protected ADU is specifically an alternative dwelling unit that is protected by the state law.
Ah,
Meaning everybody by right, as long as you follow all of the zoning other bylaws in town, you by right can have an ADU. That is protected.
Yes,
An ADU itself is just the definition of an accessory dwelling
Oh,
unit,
okay.
in my
Thank you.
opinion.
the granny
Thank you.
in-law,
Yeah.
people have
Thanks.
had for years.
Yep.
I don't think we're ready to take action on this. You?
I do. I
Really?
mean,
I think we are, and also the other piece of this is, the proposed bylaw had their, public hearing on it. But the planning board is planning on, offering effectively a friendly amendment or an amendment on the floor to clarify 3 or 4 things that we talked about, I believe, last time. One is to clarify the height rule. Another is to basically take out the word special permit from the definitions in the bylaw. And I apologize, I can't remember what the other are. And they're expected to, in their supporting statement, identify those things. And they're hoping that we, in our supporting statement, will also identify those things. After having said that, I will move that we recommend this bylaw.
didn't I already move to recommend?
Okay. I will second Peter's motion then.
All right, so Peter moves it.
Yeah.
Tim seconds it. All in favor, Dan?
I'm voting nay.
Okay. Peter,
Aye.
Deborah,
Is that word not undecided? I'm blanking. It begins with an A. What is my?
Abstain.
Thank you. Thank you. Abstaining. Abstain.
Tim?
Aye.
Wait, hold it. If I'm keeping track here.
You and Melanie.
Yeah,
left.
Melanie
Aye.
and Bob votes aye.
So
Who did
that's
we miss?
4,
Yeah, but
one
who did
abstain.
who
Dan
did
was,
I miss? Peter, Tim, oh, Melanie.
Melanie's
He was
in,
aye.
she said
So
aye,
it's 4 in favor, 1 no,
and 1 abstention.
and 1 abstention. So the ayes have it. Just, I'm throwing this out just to think about when we write our article, or sorry, our recommendation for this, we could include some language starting to address what Dan is talking about. It seems like there's this growing feeling that some of the zoning bylaws need to be updated.
I think it's, I'm going to use the term, I believe it's out of order. Because I don't think we're not in a, while we're the advisory and finance committee, I think if we were going to, in our opening letter, we could say that, there is a, zoning update, because of state accessory dwelling units. First of all, Bob, let me just say, I totally agree with you. I was on the zoning board after my 3rd year. I said, we need to have our zoning bylaws updated. And, it is, has yet to happen. And that was probably 10 or 12 years ago that I said it. And I continue to say it.
But
But I don't think an article question in the recommendation is the proper place for us to tell the planning board, you need to go back and look at zoning bylaws.
Respectfully, Peter, I disagree. I think Dan's concerns are an exact reason to point out that A, it's not directly germane to this article, but this article and concerns about it highlight the need to review and potentially update the overall zoning bylaws.
With the existing bylaws, I see no reason why I can't put a shipping container on concrete blocks in my backyard.
You can.
You
Which would
can.
fit and rent it out. I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
long as you have all your setbacks. I don't, in your current backyard, you'd have a hard time getting all of your setbacks, but
Vertical.
neither here nor there.
And I think you could actually tip it up on its end if you wanted to.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I
you're
can
right,
stack
because of the
2 of
height.
them
Yeah, no,
to get 30 feet high.
I get what you're saying. I totally do. I just feel that, and Tim, you said it eloquently enough that if it was worded that way, I would agree with you. However, if it's it has to be worded the right way for it to be tied into this bylaw. That's just I'm sorry, this warrant article. That's just the way I feel about it. But
I would
again,
agree that this recommendation needs to have a little bit more language than we usually have. But Tim, if you wouldn't mind, I think you should definitely take a stab at writing it or take a responsibility for this one. Because I would be interested, since you sat there and you listened to it, the way that you had explained it, saying that this is already in effect, we're just adopting what the state wants. And then having, if the town wants to change this sentence, they would then need to go to the planning board to make additional changes. I think there's a way to sort of incorporate it that way, but until we write it, I don't think we're going to be able to verbalize it or articulate.
Actually, what you just said helps with that. I'm happy to take that on. The idea of, if there's any concerns that they want to place any restrictions, they have to be placed on all housing, and therefore the bylaw should be reviewed.
right, exactly. That's a great way for it to be worded. That would satisfy me as well.
Would that work for you, Dan?
Well, yes, exactly, Melanie. I think what we're looking here, the ADU situation is our wake-up call to begin this process that Peter articulated, that is a decades-old ongoing issue. And rather than just kicking the can, I think we at the Advisory and Finance folks should spark plug this thing and punt it back to planning and go through the process that Peter outlined that is required. And maybe some ADUs will get through under the old, the existing rather lax situation, but we would be, I think, performing our mission.
And yeah, I think you're right, Dan. And Tim, just a kind of a gut check. I want to say, I thought I heard something where you can't change residential zoning bylaws
For the purpose of restricting ADUs. That's
exactly
right.
Exactly.
That's why we just go to the most stringent in the Commonwealth. We'll just take it from whatever town is the most stringent. I'm sure somebody out of the 351 cities and towns says full depth foundations. And then we would alter that to accommodate the flood zone special design, which would require that they pour crete and it go below the frost line. What I want to do is eliminate people putting these things on cinder blocks.
So in the planning board meeting, when there was discussion about trying to restrict it by just restricting all housing, I pointed out that given that there was a public record of this discussion, that statement would have been a bad fact. Basically leaning towards the conclusion that what they were really doing was restricting ADUs. Right. But to the extent that Dan has the same concern on any building, then it's fine.
And Peter said it's a decades-old problem that has not been addressed and has been mentioned multiple times in historical records.
Oh yeah, I mean, and not to drift off, but there's been an ongoing, and I think it's in the courts now, an ongoing zoning battle with 30A, 30 and 30A Emerald Road, right down the street from me. And if our zoning bylaws would have been updated or get updated, things like that might not occur. So that's, yeah, I think, again, as from somebody that sat on the zoning board of appeals for many years, our bylaws absolutely need to be, need to be updated, and, new things need to be done to protect, all neighborhoods from any type of, gross overbuilding or whatever you want to call it.
And as the Finance and Advisory Committee, it is our sacred duty to say somebody else should do something.
Okay, so let's all hold hands and we will now sing Kumbaya.
Right. So,
Or not my job.
all right. So Tim, you have your marching orders for writing this recommendation. All right.
You've got some of the tougher ones, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
It's more interesting.
so I already know what the last one is. I'd like to make a motion that we approve recommending Article 24.
Second,
This is just a continuation of all of our committees.
every year.
Every year. Although I do want to say, Coast Guard Design and Development Advisory Committee is still in there. I don't know why that, well, I guess another year, because there's still property there. There
There's
might
one
be
more
other
property.
decision. Yeah, okay.
Someone
Anyways, I made the
remind me,
motion.
But MVP committee, what is MVP?
Main battle tank.
No, MVP is, is it municipal velocity?
Minimal
I think
viable
it's
product.
vulnerability preparedness.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's something that has to do with, I believe it's our insurance and making sure that, again, it's, I don't want to say it's tied to zoning, but, and if Enzo was here, he'd be able to speak to it, because I think he ate, live and breathe that committee for years.
What was the V on that, Allison? What was that, MVP?
I think it's vulnerability.
Oh, vulnerability,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Along these lines, I just have a quick question for Allison. It seems that at least the town of Westwood, who are my tenants, are griping about the cable cutters reducing the revenue from cable TV. I see we've got a cable TV committee there. Are we losing revenue from cable, and is that ever going to become a problem for funding our in-house town cable TV activity where we have in-town video?
I'm not aware of that, and that's the first that I've heard. So no. And I do think that Dan Script may have just renewed a contract with one of the cable providers. I don't know. I could find out more information for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an area where I think we're having to where I anticipate we have declining revenue due to cable cutters. And right now, the towns all get a few dollars from each of the cable companies for every subscriber,
right?
That's used to offset our and pay for videotaping the town meeting and videotaping kids' school sports events and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So I haven't heard anything, but I can definitely look into it.
I'm just wondering if it's a worry that they're going to come looking for money in the future.
Not that I'm aware of.
Right.
All right. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor, Dan?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Melanie?
Aye.
And I vote, I feel like I missed somebody. Guess not. I vote aye, unanimous vote in favor. All right, so that is it. That's not it. That's it. So Tim, you volunteered for 6, and that has, which one
I
goes
think it
along
was
with it?
16.
16? This one?
Yeah,
So that's yours.
that's the one that might change depending on the results of 6.
Right, exactly. Okay, and then you also volunteered for this one.
23, yeah.
Um, all right, well, let's, I guess, let's ask for volunteers. Does anybody feel compelled to write any of these others?
Yeah, I'll do all the boilerplate ones from last
Yeah.
year.
My starting position was going to be the person that made the motion should be the one
Oh,
writing,
yeah, then I'd have to do them all.
but you would be writing most of them then.
Um,
So
actually, I got a better idea. What if our next meeting, we pulled out the warrant article book and we looked at the verbiage that we actually need to write, or we may be able to do it right now. Like there are like water sewer enterprise, same as last year.
Oh,
Water sewer paving, same as last year. Rubbish enterprise, same as last year.
yeah, but
Compost area, like all of these things are the exact same. All we're doing is
Mhm.
we've changed a little bit of the numbers here or there, but we've literally it's a boilerplate.
I
You know?
agree. I think that's a good idea. Then we really know what we're needing to assign.
We probably only need to write 5 or 6 of these
Yeah.
things.
I agree.
Yeah, most of them, you're right. Most of them are just boilerplate. All right, so hold this one for next week.
Great.
Yeah,
It just gives us less time to write it.
yeah. Well, so can we? I'm sorry, but I'm looking. Maybe I threw it away. I thought I did have a town meeting warrant book from last year.
I have it right here in front of me, but it's a hard copy, so I can't throw it up on the screen.
Well, no, but all you have to do is look at it and say
Okay.
water sewer is boiler, water sewer paving is boiler, and just mark down, boilerplate and just copy and paste.
Yep, that one's
Right.
boilerplate.
There's
That
no
one's
one.
boilerplate.
The only, yeah, right.
If you want,
exactly.
I can put up the Word version of last year's in the Dropbox and email it to you if you want.
We can still do some tonight, I think, right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Before we do that, as far as the town election, I've got a bet with somebody. I've got 2-to-1 odds that Peter's going to win the moderator election. Peter, if you win in that remote chance, are you going to be able to be responsible for anything in FinCom, or are you going to be working crazy to become a moderator?
Well, one thing that is for certain, if I become the town moderator, I cannot be the town moderator and hold a position on this committee. So I can't be the appointing authority of the Finance and Advisory Committee and actually sit on the Finance and Advisory. So the moment that I get sworn in officially, I am no longer on this committee. Just to, I mean, and I will tell you, I will move quickly to try and fill the role.
So
Well, we
that
gotta
being
try to
said,
get Dana in
we
here.
should assign Peter to all of these so we get some,
Get some work out of me before
Yeah.
I jump.
yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll have Dana on board by then. I think we
Yeah.
can continue the BPs though, right? Right now? Couple
Yeah, I
of-
think so. So
Yeah.
water sewer enterprise, water
This-
sewer paving,
That's,
rubbish enterprise. Oh, which is the one where we borrowed last year? We're borrowing the total this year. That one might have to change.
That's the water sewer, or no?
yeah, water
think
sewer
that-
paving, I'm just need to go through these kind of.
Right, because that's the 200,000 that last year was like half and half.
Right. So
There's all borrowing.
yeah.
No, this is 50,000. Either way, one
Yeah,
or two are paving.
rubbish enterprise is the
Let-
same. Compost area is the same. Recreation revolving is the same. Revolving fund limits is going to be the same. OPEB is the same. Is it paving the one yeah, paving's the one we're going to borrow all of it instead of half and half.
Yeah, if
Correct.
for OPEB, yes, it's the same. Do we?
Why don't we put
We
a
may want
question
to.
mark at
I think we want to
OPEB?
jazz up the wording in OPEB a little bit.
Okay,
Let's leave that open.
yeah,
Then paving is the $200,000 one.
we might want to change that one.
We might want to change that one.
Chapter,
So,
MWRA, water capital.
That's always,
That's tied in with the 6, right?
no, not that,
No,
not,
no.
not 17. 17 is just borrowing 500,000 a year because we can.
Because we
Right.
can't,
Oh,
it's
right.
boilerplate.
Okay.
Chapter 90 is boilerplate. That one's not. That one's not. Peter, you're close to that one. Can you do that one?
Yeah, once he comes up with the verbiage, I can just explain it. Yep.
Yep. Climate change. Oh, this is the
Yeah, that one we're gonna have to
Grant.
write.
we have to write that one.
Yeah. Community preservation we'll probably have to write,
This is boilerplate.
and that's boilerplate. Yep.
So you're right. There are only a handful.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, like even OPEB and paving, maybe some creative writing on that. The other thing too on the omnibus, because it is essentially the entire budget that we're voting on, that might be an opportunity to slide some, Proposition 2.5 override, you know, like we, we're recommending this. We were, all the departments worked really hard, and
Yep.
unfortunately, next year we may not be in that same situation or something to that.
Yep.
And Bob, you're gonna take a stab at the cover letter?
I'm gonna take a stab at the cover letter. I'll probably be like a really rough outline first, just to to kind of get everybody on the same page, and then we can start to fill it in with real sentences and
Thank you.
omnibus. Where's the omnibus? I'm looking for last year's omnibus. All right, it doesn't matter really. Okay. All right, so then our next meeting is what, a week from today?
Great.
Okay.
I won't be here.
What exotic place are you going to?
I'm going to France.
Nice. Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
it's
unless
great.
I, do what I did last time.
That last time was Morocco.
Yeah. Anyway, no
I-
guarantees.
I won't be here 2 weeks from today.
Neither will I.
Okay.
On the 7th, Tim?
On the 10th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking it was Monday, and I even missed this past Monday. Yeah, I'm traveling for business on the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Hey, when can we get Dana online?
Next time I see Dave Conlon, I will ask him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sooner the
because
better.
we're down 2 people, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to.
We're down Joy and Luke, and then if I leave, it'll be 3.
That's right. Yeah. I knew there was another one. Yes.
I knew Dave, the last I spoke to Dave was really working hard to try and fill any open roles prior to him vacating the position. Just
Wow.
because whether it was me or anybody else, he didn't want to leave, open-ended work for somebody to have to come back and somebody to come on board and all of a sudden start having to lay out a bunch of appointments.
Peter, do you actually start, saying you win, will you actually start work like on the 26th? That's when you're in office?
Officially, well, when I get sworn in.
Oh,
I,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I haven't, because I haven't run for office. I haven't been at the town hall waiting for the numbers to come in. So I don't know. I know when it was, Harriet, you know, you'd literally, you'd go up there and she'd say, okay, Peter, you won the school committee. I can swear you in right now while you're standing here. So, I mean, I don't know if Diane does it that way or not, but as soon as I'm sworn in officially, I'm the town moderator.
And do you think Dave will appoint someone to fill your post as well?
He won't be able to because, well, unless I step down earlier, which
Yeah.
I mean, I could do, but I mean, I believe it or not, I already have two people in mind. So,
Well,
I
good.
mean, yeah,
So we're covered.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. Good. So anyway, for that week, not next week, but the following week, we may want to think about moving it to a different day.
I will probably be there on Thursday. It was Monday that I was thinking of that I'm not going to be around.
Okay, and then who is,
Ooh, next Thursday I won't be here.
Nor will I.
Ugh. Is there a different day of the week that works better? Or works at all?
Wednesday's bad. Wednesday and Thursday next week are bad for me. Actually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all bad for me. Monday night would be the only night I could do next week.
I think I could do Monday. Go check.
Do we have time? I don't think we have time to post it for Monday.
You don't. You need 48 hours.
Yeah, 48 business hours.
Right.
So we can't post it for Monday.
Mm.
And next week is supposed to be planning board. So we would have to.
Well,
Sure they, I think we have another meeting on Tuesday to finalize what they're going to be bringing.
what's quorum?
Half plus one?
Half plus one, yeah. So
Which is
9 minus 3 is 6.
Yeah,
Half
but
that is 3 plus 1 is a quorum is 4.
Oh, that's not very much.
right.
Will Barbara be back?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think so. Yeah, she's just out tonight.
2, 3. If Barbara is back,
We've got McMacken, Vanderslice, Melanie, yes?
April 3rd, yes.
Okay.
and
I'm here
Tim
April 3rd.
And Tim,
and Tim, so you're gonna have 5.
so we're all right. So next week we're good, but I was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the following week I was worried about.
Following week, I'm unavailable the 10th.
The 10th, and I believe I'm okay on the 10th. Yes, I should be fine on the 10th.
I can do the 10th also.
I can do the 10th too.
And we would have a quorum on the 10th then. All right, then let's leave it the way it is. And if we get new knowledge next week, we'll cross that bridge then.
Yep.
Okay,
Cool.
cool.
Yep.
All right, then,
Motion to adjourn.
yep.
I second.
So it's Peter and
Aye.
Melanie. All in favor? No, you don't get to
No.
go. Melanie's at first this time.
Oh, I
I
thought you said Peter.
Oh, I was just writing Peter as
Oh, okay.
having
All
made
right.
the motion, that's all.
All right.
Melanie votes aye. Peter, now you get to say whatever
Aye.
you want to say. Aye. Deborah,
Aye.
Tim,
I
Dan,
Aye.
Bob, aye. Unanimous vote in favor, and we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
So,
I